But even bringing that to a smaller scale and looking at your week and saying that, in my work, I don't feel that, I gave my absolute best in that meeting, or I did my absolute best this week or this month or this quarter.
Yes.
And stopping and saying and looking at it, and rather than beating yourself up about it and stressing about, am I going to lose my job one day? The company's not performing well. Am I going to face retrenchment? What's happening with the pandemic? But rather looking at it and saying, you know what? I did the best with what I had and what I've been giving at the time. Was it my absolute best of all time? Probably not. But was it the best based on the amount of time that I had to prepare for it, based on the resources that I had available to myself? Did I do the best with what I had at the time? And if you can answer that question, you say, yes, maybe I was tired. Did I do the best with, the energy levels that I had for that day? Absolutely, yes. Not looking at it and saying and stressing and looking into the future and saying, I don't know where this is going. I don't have any control over that. So why obsess about it?
But for this week's episode, we're going to be talking about ignorance, and ignorance is bliss. I think we all know the saying. We're actually going to go a little bit into what that means for us. And is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I kind of tend to believe that it's a positive thing, in the sense of the emotional positivity that it brings, But I think it could be a negative thing sometimes to be so, I would say, removed from reality that you don't know about the important things going on.
Sometimes in life, I think it's extremely interesting when you look at it from a different perspective and you say that maybe it's not always best to know everything. Maybe there's just some stuff in life that we don't know what the answers are, and maybe we should stop killing ourselves over it and trying to figure everything out and understand what the answers are, what our purpose is on this planet and in life, and all of those type of things. So I think it's going to be really, really cool deep diving into this. Once again, we're going to have a look at the research. What does the research say? Have there been studies that have been conducted that have proven that sometimes being ignorant is better, in some regards? So super stoked.
Yeah, and I think it's very important to also go into the meanings of the words, If you say ignorance is nice or ignorance is bliss, you're almost saying the same thing. But ignorance is good. I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I would say that it's nice. I would say that it's blissful.
Of course.
Because it means your thoughts are quiet and you're at peace.
One interesting thing that I heard a while ago, they had such a great analogy of this, and I think this really encapsulated it. I'm a person, I obsess about the details. I've just mentioned that. But to such an extent that sometimes I try and dissect the purpose of us being here, the really existential crisis that you sit in, and you try and figure out what is the purpose of it all? Why I go to work? Why work for money? Why do we have to grind it out every single day to just survive and feed our families and feed our kids and stuff? And I got so caught up in this. And I think they compared it to a computer, a normal computer that you work with and all that. There's a front end of this. There's an operating system that you work on. In the background, yes, we're techie guys. We understand how the hardware speaks to the software. We understand some coding languages and all of that, how things are built and how things operate in the back end of it. The entire analogy that they used was just so beautiful, because if you have a look at a computer, nobody needs to really know what the bits and the bytes are in order to use that computer, right? Exactly. All you need to know is, how to operate the software. That's it. You can remain completely oblivious to the fact that, there's bits and bytes and the, CPUs and these little chips communicating with this, and this is how computers talk over a network and over the internet. You don't have to obsess about that if you want to use a computer, right? In the same way, you don't need to understand how life works. So I think that makes a lot of sense, right? That there's a reason that we don't know everything in life. And to constantly sit and stress yourself out about finding out what the answers are, you could sometimes just add to this stress, to this anxiety, in this world that we're already living in with all of this, stuff going on already. You don't want to be adding to that. So why always go and seek the answers? I think Deepak Chopra said something beautiful in one of his books that I read back in the day. And he said that stepping into the world of the unknown, or stepping into the world of uncertainty, is the most beautiful part of life, right? It's where you don't need to know always to the T what your next step is going to be. You don't need to know where you're supposed to be in life. And trying to figure that out could sometimes completely restrict your success in life. So stepping into circumstances or opportunities that you have absolutely no idea how that's going to work out for you. That is the beautiful part of life. It's not knowing that really spices things up. If you've derived some great value from our show thus far, please take a second to rate and review us on the platform that you're tuned in on. This will really help us to grow the show and reach more and more people, to spread the positivity and change more and more lives. So it will literally just take you a second to rate and review us, and who knows, perhaps you could directly be responsible for changing someone's life today. We look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Until then, cheers.